and welcome back to another episode of Sai's Eyes. I don't know if I'm going to do Life of a Long-Term Multitasker anymore. I don't know, we'll see. But it might be part of the subtitle still. I'm thinking about moving. Kind of want the bio, kind of as I've grown, to kind of be more, I want the phrase to kind of be like normalized thinking or something like that, as I've figured out more of what type of content, what type of feeling that I want the listeners to be having. So we'll see how that goes. But anyway, so this episode, I'm going to be, if you guys haven't listened to the previous couple of ones, talking through my quarterly circle, which was basically my review of the past 3 months and then planning for the coming 3 months for Q2. So, and then, that style I was doing outside, walking as well around the neighborhood. So, continuing to do that this time. Hopefully not too weird for anyone passing by. I'm just going to walk around this pool area for a bit because there's some people. But all good. So, this episode, I really want to dive into my life operating system. Well, not just this episode, this series. I don't know how many parts it's going to be, because I don't know how long I'm going to be talking for. But it's going to be several episodes long, because I want to go in depth into exactly what I'm doing, how I'm organizing my life. And so this kind of operating system framework was kind of taken from August Bradley, who is a YouTuber that I found through my brother. Actually, he sent a video in about November of last year utilizing Notion. Obviously, I've referenced it before. And if you guys have not really checked it out, it's an all-in-one workspace. You can use it as project management tool, habit tracker tool, calendar, note system, note-taking. So it kind of replaces a lot of different apps that you may be currently using right now, like Evernote or Google Calendar or Asana or Trello or habit tracking apps. So it just kind of consolidates everything into one place. So that's what I find really useful there. And so he has a lot of videos outlining in detail each of the different steps, that each of the different databases and pages, which are the terms in Notion, on how he operates on a daily basis for his personal life as well as his business life. And I've adopted a lot of his framework, as well as molded it to be something of my own and something that I can have ownership of. And so I've changed it around a little bit, given some new titles, etc. But right now I think it's in a good place, and then I still want to continue to iterate and improve upon it. So what is this operating system? So how I always like to, I guess recently, last couple of years, especially since I've started working at 2U/Laundrolab now, I like to brand things, come up with unique names, etc. Nice little creative play on words, puns, etc. So, he has his life operating system. Everything's like OS, right? So there's Android, there's iOS, and it was too easy. It was too easy not to go with SaiOS. So this series of episodes is going to be, dubbed the SaiOS series or something like that. So I'm going to be going at a high level overview right now in this episode, and then in each subsequent episode in this series, each part will be taking a deep dive into each specific aspect of the SaiOS, of this life operating system that I've implemented, taken from August Bradley, that I've taken from other sources as well, and built into my own. So what is this SaiOS? So, because I was starting out kind of watching his YouTube videos, he kind of starts at the top level and how he organizes everything. So I'm going to give a high-level overview of each of the different aspects, and then each episode we'll be diving deeper into it, like I said. So there's a lot of different aspects to this operating system. So I could start in a lot of different places. Where I'm going to start is something called... So before I get into this, there's something called databases, which are basically tables which can be organized if you've used Asana or Basecamp or something like that. It's basically, lists, tables. It can be modified depending on the fields and values, as calendar views, as timeline views, as list views, as table views, etc. And so those are called databases in Notion. And then there's something called pages, which are kind of like the Evernote pages that if you've used Evernote or just OneDrive, Word, Notepad, whatever you want to use for note-taking. That's what those are called, pages in Notion. So essentially everything in Notion is built upon these databases and pages. And so I have this. So one of these pages is called the alignment zone. So some of these terms are taken from August Bradley directly. Some of these I've just renamed them myself. But alignment zone, I believe, is what he has his named. And so in the alignment zone, it basically kind of aligns my whole life. In terms of the high-level aspirations of who I want to be, who I want to become, and then goes down all the way to my daily level action items. So a lot of times people will, think about, or be busy in their day-to-day life, and they have their values and all that stuff that they want to live up to, but how do they track that? How do they keep a measure of how well they're doing, of how they're becoming the person that they want to become, right? So this alignment zone makes sure that everything that you're doing on a day-to-day basis, hour-to-hour basis, is in alignment with who you want to be. So that's the kind of the purpose of this alignment zone. I'll go into each, part of this alignment zone in detail at some other point in the future, but that's basically the basic gist of the alignment zone. I have a lot of databases in here, as well as pages. And so just some of the ones that I'll highlight right now are, like the aspirations, the review cycles, which I've went into a little bit in depth the last couple episodes. I have my vision board in here. I have my purpose by time period. So whether an ambition, a theme, a story, a focus, priority, however you want to name it, the nomenclature. But those are some of the terms that I've used. And then I have some of affirmations, which kind of like goals. Who I want to be. And then there's the action level, which is the projects or the action items, or both of them are in the action level of this alignment zone. And then I have some other databases, like the actual affirmations database, a habits and practices database, which I use to keep track of all my habits and practices, how often I want to do it. And then I just have a little brainstorm section. Actually, disregard that. I just use that as a placeholder or note taking. So that's this alignment zone right there. So that keeps track of all my it aligns everything that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis with my purpose for life, essentially. And then I have my something called I'm thinking right now if I should go into it more in depth right now, or hold on. Yeah, I'll continue going through each of the sections. I'll go through it a little bit quicker on the overview, and then deeper later. So then I have something called Wisdom, which is something that I've dubbed myself. It's kind of like it's essentially a vault system, where essentially I have all my notes spread across different types of notes, I guess. So dubbed as vaults. And so there's a book vault, which is public, which I've included on my website, which has all my books that I've read, that I want to read, notes that I've taken, and details about the books. Then there's the media vault, which is different content like podcasts, TV shows, documentaries, anything like that. And there's different courses that I've taken, so anything, courses, workshops, stuff like that, that'll be in there. Then I have a thought vault, which is kind of like notes and ideas, just original ideas that I have of my, on my own. And so any thoughts and ideas I'll quickly note down in there. And then I have a wisdom vault, which is kind of the master tag database, if you will. It contains notes organized by category and not by a timeline or anything. So I think this is one of the cool parts about this, where if I have something, if there's business notes in general taken across different books and podcasts and people that I've talked to, and etc., I can aggregate all these under one tag, and I can review them or look back at it whenever I want. So that's kind of the purpose of the wisdom vault. And then I have all my other databases in here, which I just track under the wisdom. So that's any usernames, passwords, my workout video playlist that's also public, any tools, services, subscriptions, etc. Any traveling stuff, any cool noteworthy like quotes, phrases, etc. So a bunch of other different databases in here in the wisdom. So I just kind of lump them into other databases here. And then I have my action zone, which is kind of like for the project management side of things. And so this is a dashboard that 90% of the time, this is a screen that's open while I'm working. And so it has a reminder of what my yearly and quarterly and monthly purposes are. So I can have a constant reminder, as well as my vision board, so I can constantly see it. And then so basically the basic purpose of the action zone is to see what my daily tasks are, to check them off, to establish a priority, to view them in list form, as well as calendar, so I can easily move them around based on any shifting priorities, based on any due dates that I want to push out or anything like that. It also has some of my daily habit tracking and daily entries that I want to keep track of. That'll eventually, that I'll view on a weekly level, on a monthly level, and a quarterly level. And it also has different projects that I can quickly access and update the information on. So this is kind of a one-stop shop for everything that I want to manage on a day-to-day basis. So 90% of the time, I'm on this page when I'm in Notion. And then I have my content creation center, which has a bunch of different links out to the content, the content calendar that I've built for the quarter, all the different, details, etc. of each of the content, how it's organized. This podcast that I'm recording right now is in the content creation center. It's currently in production, right? I've a Kanban board to see if any of you guys have used a Kanban board style, for project management or anything like that. It'll have each section of each status of the task or of the content. So it'll have first pre-production, then production, post-production, scheduled to publish, and then published. Or if I scratch it, I'll have something that says scratching or scratched if I don't want to do it, or if I deem it's not priority right now. And I also have a bunch of content ideas. So if there's any ideas that I have that are, if I don't capture in the thought vault and it's specifically to content, then I'll capture it as a view, as a entry, and I'll have a view of all the different content ideas. So if I'm ever, brainstorming or whatever, I can refer back to this. And so everything content-wise, a podcast, blog, vlog, unplugged, newsletter, anything like that, everything lives in this content creation center page, which is kind of like the dashboard. And then within there's different pages and different views that I can get into at a later point. And so, I think that gives hopefully gives but it gives an overview of what my life operating system is like right now. So essentially I have an alignment from high level to low level. I have all my notes titled as vaults, sectioned out, divided up by the type of content it is. Learnings divided by what subject it is. Then I use project management capabilities in Notion for day-to-day project management, filling out each of the tasks. Then I use it also for content production and content management, content calendar. And so each of these different sections, each of these aspects of this life operating system, the SaiOS, is what makes up the system as a whole. And so in the subsequent episodes, I'll plan to go deep into each of these sections so I can fully understand the magnitude of what I built out and what other people have built out and I've leveraged and modified. It took me about a month and a half to fully build out everything from scratch to what it was then, and I've continued to iterate upon it every week or every month or so. And so it's been a learning process, and I'm going to continue to iterate upon it. One of my projects is a V2 of this Notion life operating system in each of the pages, projects, etc. So hopefully that gives a decent overview of what my life operating system is like, and hopefully you continue with me on this journey to learn about how I'm implementing it on a granular level. So, appreciate you listening to another episode of SaiOS. I'll see you when I see you.